Hello, everybody. Welcome to my live Thrive with Me, Living Boldly with PCOS. I'm your girl, Monica Rieger. And tonight, as you can tell, I am not streaming from home. I'm actually streaming from New Orleans. I'm here attending a conference. I'm one of the speakers. And of course, I had to step away so I can commit to the live because obviously tonight is Wednesday. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. But I had to go live tonight because tomorrow is a gala, and obviously I'm not able to step away. So I wanted to make sure that we are all good to go. Look, it is August 27, 2025, and I'm super happy to have you guys on. So give me a second. Let me see to make sure that we have everybody on. Make sure I share, view the event, make sure I change it that we go live. I'm super excited to talk about, this is week 2 of PCOS AA. I'm supporting them, but this is my personal journey. I wanted to raise awareness. I'm super glad to do that. So let's see. I want to make sure that we are all good. Giving people a few minutes to jump on. Totally excited to have you guys to be a part. All right. We are live. Okay, guys, so we're going to get started because I do not want to tarry very long. And I want to talk about this week, week 2, we're talking about symptoms. That's right. We're going to talk about symptoms today. But I really want to just highlight again what is PCOS. And because often people ask me, what is PCOS? And PCOS stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's a hormonal and metabolic condition that affects about 1 in 10 women and people with ovaries of childbearing ages. It's one of the most common and common metabolic disorders out there. I always get tripped up with the word, even though I can say endocrinologist. Some days it works and some days it doesn't. But anyway, I'm just really happy for you guys to be with me tonight. But most of all, what we're doing. And so, good evening to everyone. Welcome back with me to Thrive with Me, Living Boldly with PCOS. I am Monica Roxanne, and I'm so glad you're with me tonight for week 2 of our series. Last week, we focused on the diagnosis, how it all began for me, what we felt when we first heard the words polycystic ovarian syndrome, and how that moment shaped me and, of course, my community. And so tonight we're shifting to the day-to-day reality of symptoms. This is going to be a very real conversation. PCOS symptoms are often overlooked. They're often minimized, often misunderstood. And my goal tonight is to normalize what we live with, and to bring it out into the open and remind you that you're not alone in this journey. So totally excited, and just want to jump right in. And so one of the things that's really, really important about some of the symptoms is PCOS includes hormonal imbalance, insulin resistance, irregular periods, and sometimes there's cysts on the ovaries. And so last week I, showed a ultrasound of cysts that look like a chain inside of the ovary. My ovaries look very much like that, so it is typical. And some of the experience, or some people experience infertility, acne, excess of hair growth or hair thinning, while others may struggle with mood changes, weight fluctuations, and irregular periods. So I really want to make sure I highlight again that PCOS is a whole body condition. It's not a one person condition. It's not just a condition. It's a whole body condition. Okay, and so let's jump right into it. Really, we're going to talk about breaking down the symptoms. I want to break down the symptoms and talk about them a little bit, because essentially that is what some people see, and some of it is hidden. And so and I want to stress for everyone that is watching this now or later that PCOS is not a one size or one cure or one symptom fits all. There are combinations. Some people may demonstrate or display or exemplify some symptoms and not all symptoms. And so, what is really important, I stressed this last week, is that you build a health portfolio, meaning you're tracking your symptoms over a period of time. And typically, if you have 3 to 4 symptoms, I think it's now 2 to 3 symptoms, you potentially may have PCOS. So let's talk about it. So PCOS is doesn't show up the same way for everyone. Okay, and I want to be clear on that. Some women may deal with 1 symptom or 2 symptoms, and some may face several all at once, right? And so I want to talk through the most common symptoms, but I don't want people to think that there again is a one size fit all. It is a condition where you have to track your symptoms over time. But let's talk about these symptoms, okay? And if you hear the noise in the background, y'all, I'm in New Orleans, so there's a lot going on. There's a lot of conversations, but I want to make sure that I get the information out there. So one of the most common symptoms is irregular periods or missed periods. Okay, and so I want to give this infographic of basically the common symptoms. So irregular periods or missed periods, weight struggles, your hair changes a bit. We'll talk about that a little bit. You have acne or skin changes, fertility issues, you have cysts. Then you also may experience mood swings and depression and anxiety, the fatigue and brain fog. Oh my gosh, we'll talk about that in just a second. So as you can see, these are the common symptoms. These are common. These are not the only symptoms, but these are our most common symptoms. And remember what I say, typically to be quote unquote officially diagnosed, some doctors stick with some of the traditional findings of maybe 3 to 4 symptoms over a period of time. Some doctors are more proactive, and they're saying 2 to 3 symptoms over a period of time. If you are exemplifying or um, showcasing any of these symptoms, they may diagnose you with PCOS. And so it's very important that we understand what that looks like. And so irregular periods and missed period, for many of us, that's one of the first red flags. I remember in high school and in middle school, I would have regular periods every 28 days. But oh my goodness, the pain, the level of pain that I had to endure, and the heavy bleeding that I had to endure was obnoxious. There's probably the most correct word. It was obnoxious. And so that was in middle school and high school. But once I got out of high school and I stopped exercising as much as I did, I wasn't playing sports as much as I was. I started to really exemplify some of the symptoms where I could go 2 to 3 months with no period, or when my period came on, it lasted 6 weeks. Oh, it was brutal. It was brutal. So cycles, when you have irregular periods or missed periods, cycles can be unpredictable. So they had either long gaps of where you're actually menstruing, or there's periods where you just didn't have it at all. And quiet is kept. Let me be crystal clear in the room. No period was okay with me because they were just, I had such an aggressive cycle period that the pain was just atrocious. And so I cannot stress it enough about um, your cycle and experiencing, you know, Midol became my friend. I mean, there was a point where the pain was so crucial, um, that excruciating, I think is a better word. It was so excruciating that I was taking a leave in my high school career, and two, like, you're only allowed to take two a leave a day. I was taking two at once, and I still wasn't enough to alleviate the discomfort. I mean, it wasn't discomfort, it was pain. It felt like, if I have to give the better example, it felt like a dull knife cutting me open. The pain was just intense. So missed periods and irregular periods is a common sign of potential that you may have PCOS or some metabolic disorder. The second is weight struggle. So that is a common thing for myself, but there's two types. You'll typically see someone with weight struggles. They have a harder time losing weight because they're really insulin resistant. And I told you guys last week, there's 4 types of PCOS: insulin resistance, birth control induced, inflammatory PCOS, or androgen induced PCOS. And so when you're working out, like myself, I tend to work out. I'm pretty physical. It's very difficult to lose weight, and that can be so discouraging because you're eating right, you're working out, but you're trying to figure out what's going on with your body. And the sad part is no one really can tell you, and or people don't understand. I don't know how many times I went through this experience where I tried to explain to people that I'm starving, but I'm putting on weight. And so people are like, oh, you're just lazy. No, I am not. I am not just lazy. It is difficult. It's been very difficult for me. And it's to lose weight, gaining weight, losing weight, or whatever, what you will have you. And unfortunately for culture, we are unkind to people that are different, instead of taking a moment to show some form of compassion. And so I think it's really important that we take the time to really be compassionate in this space with people who may be struggling with PCOS, even if you don't understand. If you don't know what it is or what it means to have PCOS, then don't worry about it. But don't insert your commentary. And sometimes it's just you just don't know. So I'm going to say your lack of knowledge. And since some people just rude, yeah, the weight struggle is either you're gaining weight even though you feel like you're not eating enough, and there's a reason for that. And then, or for those that we typically call lean PCOS, they don't have the issue of gaining weight; they have the issue of losing too much weight. And I don't know which one is better because I think clearly both of it is extreme. Okay. And then, so there's irregular periods, missed periods, the weight struggles, then you have the hair changes. And so for people who have PCOS, one of the continuous evidence of that you may have a metabolic disorder is that you may have excess hair growth in places that you don't want, i.e., your chin. Oh, it is frustrating. The other place is typically your back. I have it, my back, my lower back, my chin. It is frustrating. Where I need all of my hair is in my head. Okay. And unfortunately, with PCOS, you have the hair growth, which is hirsutism, in places that you don't want it. And that's because you either have increased or essentially increased testosterone or androgens. And that's frustrating because increased testosterone is what kicks your hair growth and your hormones in, and it's most likely because you have an elevated spike in your cortisol. All of this plays a part, right? Basically, there's a hormone imbalance. Whereas even though you're having just supernatural hair growth in places that you don't want, either your chest, your breast area, your chin, your back, upper back, lower back, whatever. And then you may have male pattern balding, which is frustrating, or thinning in your hair where it's supposed to be. Makes no sense. And that is because, again, there is a hormonal imbalance, and that's the focus that you have to correct, right? And so I cannot stress it again that you are going through these symptoms of your hair changing. Either you have increased hair in places that you don't want, like in your neck, your chin, again, your back, your breast area, your stomach. It's just in places that normally doesn't have excessive hair growth. And then the places that you want excessive hair growth, like your hair, your head, it starts to thin, and it becomes concerning, and it's stressful, and it's very discouraging, especially when you're seeing it happen. So, so either way, extra excessive hair or thinning of hair is very, very painful, because it does, it's something that is physically something that you have to physically see, and it plays on your psyche when you're already not feeling 100% or feeling well. The second or the fourth thing, symptom that we can talk about tonight, which is, again, these are common symptoms. So the first symptom is irregular missed periods. Second symptom, weight struggles. Third symptom is hair changes. The next one is acne and skin changes. Okay, so I really want to make sure that we talk about a lot of that. And so give me a second. Someone is saying that I want to figure out. There it is. Let's see. So sorry, guys. I got a message that people are having difficulty, and I want to make sure that we are able to be seen and everybody's able to stream. So give me just one more moment. Let's see. All right, I think we got it. We're trying to make sure that we can see. So if you can share, it'd be totally dope. Thank you guys so much for your patience. Here we go. Had to pause. Totally didn't want to do that, but that's okay. All right, so that's what technology does. Okay. And you know what? It's okay, guys. It's so okay. All right. Sorry, I had to make sure that I um, corrected all of that. So wonderful, 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 wonderful. So check it out. So thank you all those who are joining and jumping on. I apologize if you weren't able to see the first half of it. You can always go back and watch it. All right. So we talked about irregular periods or missed periods. We talked about weight struggles, those who have struggled with weight. Then also hair changes, right? The excessive growth in your chin, excessive growth in your back, in your breast area, your stomach area, sometimes along your bottom. Like, listen, it is frustrating to no end. Then you have your skin symptoms, acne and skin tags, right? So acne is still an issue because again, this is hormonal acne. So it typically exists around your chin area, where they're more like cystic acne, and again, it's evidence of a hormonal imbalance. So you want to take great care of your face. I think one of the things that I have learned over my time of having PCOS is let my skin tell me what it needs. Because sometimes you can get into a rhythm, or a routine, if you will, or a regimen, which is great. But maybe one night your face doesn't need an extra amount of serum. Maybe it just needs a moisturizer, or sometimes it needs the extra serum because it's super dry. It depends, but let your skin dictate to you or tell you what it needs. What I did find, which was very helpful with my PCOS, is from my dermatologist. And so my dermatologist said, well, I think they were estheticians, no, dermatologist. My dermatologist said that in the morning, like if you wash your face at night, when you wake up in the morning, just wipe your face with regular water. There's no need, or micellar water is also what they recommend. There's no need to do some of the harsh washings with chemicals, like your facial washes, because it can be too much. And so although you're trying to clear up some of the acne on your bottom of your chin or your face, um, it may be adding some, maybe inflaming it or making it more and more inflamed than it probably should be. So that's something to consider. Now, is that a one size fit all? No. Okay, you're going to continue to hear me say that. That is not the case. And so one of the things I want to make sure that I'm clear on is that you let your body tell you what it needs. And sometimes it's difficult, especially when you're not feeling 100%. You have the brain fall, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But let your skin is going to tell you how oily it is, right? So you may have oily, super oily skin. I still get it in my teen zone, as you can see, but not as excessive as I used to have it in the past. Part of it is I drink a ton of water. I really, really try to get approximately half my body weight in ounces in water, because I find that it's just helpful. Two, in the morning I use micellar water to just clean my face, and then I go in with a toner, and then I go in. And again, it depends on the day. Like if I'm in the house all day, which is typically what I do, but if I'm in the house all day, I probably won't put on an extra serum. I will probably just put on my moisturizer. Sometimes in the winter time, I will wash my face if I'm, and also determine if I'm wearing makeup. So if I'm wearing makeup, obviously I'm going to use a facial cleanser. But if I'm not wearing makeup throughout the day, I probably would just use micellar water at night. If I haven't done anything, I'll probably use micellar water again. In the evening, depending on what's going on with my face, I might use the Evian um, mist, basically water in a can, but don't tell them I told you guys that. It tends to really help with moisturizer, capturing the moisture and hydrating my skin. And then I'll put on either a serum or a moisturizer. Some nights I can put on the toner and clean my face with a toner, and then I can put on spray on the facial mist, and then I can put on a serum, and that's all I need. Like my face is nice and juicy and plump. So I let my body tell me what I need. I let my face tell me what it needs. I don't give it more than it deems, because I find that it's been unsuccessful for me. And in this time where I just want my body to be not stressed, is important to me as well. So I encourage you to consider that. So the other thing you're going to also see outside of the acne, the oily skin, the excessive hair growth, it's skin tags. So I have a few on my neck here. Usually skin tags are not uh, cancerous or anything like that. But again, if you do see them, I am going to encourage you to make sure that you go to a dermatologist or talk with your doctor, because skin tags can turn into something cancerous, or may be cancerous. So something to consider. But usually skin tags, you get one or two clusters sometimes, maybe one or two on your arm, your hand. I have a couple on my neck. Then the other thing you're going to see is dark patches. And so there's some, really hyperpigmentation. I'm going to share this image again. And what you see at the bottom, very last image, is where it talks about dark patches. Okay. And so, and what it's common in the back of your neck, where if you have, like me, I have a little bit of a hump in the back of my neck where the skin folds together. That darkening of skin, people call it dirt, but it really isn't. It is a symptom of PCOS. Your skin will darken in those areas. Oftentimes, if you have hyperpigmentation, um, like severe hyperpigmentation, you could have it in your armpits, in between your legs, and it may not be connected to PCOS, but commonly you'll see it in the back of your neck, around this area, where the skin folds, and or in your stomach area where the skin runs together. So I encourage you, if you do have or see that in your on your body, is to consider letting your doctor know, because that might be a condition or part of the symptoms that you may have a metabolic disorder. All right. So we've talked about acne. We've talked about oily skin. We've talked about extremely dry skin. We've talked about darkening of the skin. Sometimes your skin can be extra dry, so that's something to consider. But all of that is symptoms of your hormones are out of balance. The next thing is, which is common with PCOS, is fertility challenges. Again, if you're having missed periods, if you're having high testosterone, low estrogen, low libido, you have all of this going on, you're going to have fertility challenges. Now, that is not the end all be all or the end to your world, because I know for a fact there are women who have PCOS who have gotten pregnant not once but twice, but 3 or 4 times. It depends. This is not a condition that has one pathway or one pipeline. This is a condition that has a combination. It shows up in various ways, and it's so important that you build a portfolio with your doctor. I cannot express it enough, either with your internal medicine doctor or a specialist, endocrinologist is really important, and that you're constantly advocating for yourself, because there are some metabolic specialists who are just they're not considered being proactive. They basically say, if you, unless you want to have children, then come back to me. I'll put you on birth control or metformin, some type of medicine. What you want is to have a healthy, functioning, thriving life. So put pressure on your doctors, okay, to give you more information, or visit www.pcosaa.org so that you can start connecting with resources that can so that you can help you have better conversations around your PCOS and what you're experiencing. So fertility issue is common. You know, underdeveloped eggs. Maybe you are developing a fibroid. I had a fibroid removed 3 years ago. Maybe you have endometriosis with PCOS. There's so many things that could come along with that. So something to think about, something to consider. But remember, fertility challenges is common. This can be one of the most emotional, heavy symptoms of all time. Like, if you are passionate about having a child or starting a family with your partner or significant other or your husband or wife, and that becomes issues, that is why reproductive rights is so important, because you want to have the ability to choose how you conceive, and you want the ability to choose how you receive treatment, because again, A metabolic disorder is not a one size fit all. There's not one cure to it. Okay. And so we have to continue to advocate for the rights to choose and the right and then other options and alternatives to grow your family. So I truly understand for those. So I don't have any children. I've never given birth. Essentially, I've never tried to get pregnant either. But I do know stories, and I've been privy to stories where individuals have tried, and it's been very difficult. And it's taken them a long time to conceive. Where I've met individuals who've had, again, didn't have a problem conceiving, but they still had PCOS. So again, it is a very person specific of what symptoms that you may exhibit. Mood swings is huge because I just talked about missed periods, irregular periods. I talked about increased testosterone. I talked about earlier increased androgen, but low estrogen, etc. That it means that your body is is a hormone imbalance. Your body's out of balance. Mood swings, depression, and anxiety is common with PCOS because you do not feel well. So think about it like arrows and varying spaces, right? You have the fact that you don't feel well, right? Something's off, you're struggling, you don't have the energy, you have a ton of demand. Then you have life, you have tons of demands on you. And then you don't when you look in the mirror, you don't like what you see in the mirror. So that's a challenge. So there's so much that is going on that it takes a toll on you. And so either you fall into a form of depression because your hormones is out of balance. And again, we know that hormones tie into your cycle, and if that's irregular or missed, it's probably going to really be challenging for your body. So you have mood swings, you have depression, then you have super anxiety, you go back to being depressed. It is a whirlwind. And so I encourage anyone that has a person like myself, who even my own community, that loves me to pieces and they're like, Monica, what's going on? Are you okay? Or I'm in a state of depression or even anxiety. Listen, give me grace because it is out of my control. It is intentional fight. Once you start on that slippery slope, it is very difficult to get focused. Not impossible. It's just difficult. You have to be intentional every single day. You have to be intentional essentially every moment because it comes down to you legitimately saying I need, you know, some type of support or something like that. So I cannot stress it enough. The mood swings, depression, anxiety is real. I know for PCOS Awareness Association, there are times where we often get a DM that says from young ladies who are saying, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. I'm exhausted. You know, they're going through, and we're not qualified to support someone who's at their max and mental health capacity. So I think so. We have resources like Crisis Text Line and other resources that we do our best to offer to our community for that reason. And so it's really, really important that we understand that PCOS is a whole body condition. It is not, for the love of all things great, just a one symptom or one issue. And I just talked about the fatigue and the brain fog. I have the worst fatigue and brain fog. Especially when I'm like in the state of stress on a regular basis, either from work, life, ministry, my professional career, family, relationships, friends, all of that. The brain fog and the fatigue is for me out of control. Even when I'm sleeping like 8 hours, I feel like I need another 8 hours. And then, as we know, if you sleep too much, it's not good for you. If you're not sleeping enough, it's not good for you. It is a struggle, and it's hard for me to stay focused, especially, and that's very impeding with the career that I have in compliance or cybersecurity or policy management and all of that, because it requires me to be laser focused. So the struggle of focus when when you feel like you're moving through quicksand is also frustrating and overwhelming. So be kind to people when we speak up and say we're not okay. But for me personally, I think between me struggling in school and when I was diagnosed, and understanding the things that I need to do as an adult now, one of the things I find helpful is I give myself grace. I am, it's just important to me to give myself grace because even though I'm being vulnerable and transparent live on social media about my journey with PCOS, it is really important to me that we encourage each other, give each other grace. I'll never forget, I've said this before, I have plenty of people in my community who care for me and they're kind. But when I told them I have to manage my sugar, because I'm insulin resistant. So I really have to be very, very careful of how much sugar I intake a day, and or at least it's just be intentional, right? Not hyper vigilant, but be intentional about if I'm going to drink a soda, try to do zero sugar. Ideally, stick with water, but you know. If you want a soda, try to do zero sugar or diet Coke, if you will. But and so when I say that to people, they're like, "You're automatically a diabetic." No, I am not. I'm insulin resistant, and there's a difference. And so one of the things that's frustrating to me is when people they feel like they're helping you and they're really not. I'm like, dude, if you don't know what that means, just ask me, or don't say anything at all. Is that a frustration? Yes. Because yes, I may be put on uh, um, diabetes medicine, but it's not because I'm a diabetic. It's trying to prevent diabetes, and it's trying to make me more sensitive to my insulin. So anyway, sharing these things is not easy, but I hope that it helps others feel like they're seen. Like I can share with you, you're not by yourself. You're not alone. So the next thing I really want to talk about, because I talked a lot about our symptoms, is one more symptom that people don't really talk about is the emotional weight of having PCOS. Okay, let's look at this um, graphic really quickly. All right, so it is. So it says more specifically that PCOS affects out of 1 of 10 women of childbearing age. So that's about 5 to 18% of women worldwide may have or have PCOS. And 20 to 30% of the PCOS patients develop diabetes or a cholesterol problem over time. And then 50% of women don't know that they have PCOS and it goes undiagnosed, right? That's a lot, 50%. 30% of women with normal BMI have what we call lean PCOS. I've said that before. If if the person looks like they're healthy, but they have other symptoms, meaning they may have the extra excessive hair growth, they may have the irregular periods, they may have the cysts in their ovaries, but they're not struggling with the weight issue, then they may have lean PCOS. And then there's 70% of women with PCOS have difficulties getting pregnant. So if you have PCOS, it is a full-on struggle for people who are truly struggling um, to that have PCOS. And so I want people to understand that it is a strong challenge, but I want to make sure that we share that. And so this is from the OBGYN consultants and fertility specialists, and this is their graphic, just really showcasing some of the top symptoms that women actually go through. So 5 to 18% of women worldwide have PCOS. Out of that, 70% of women with PCOS have difficulties getting pregnant. That is why reproductive rights is so important. I cannot stress that enough. I will move on from that rant. But I want to talk about the emotional weight, right? Because emotional weight is really important. Um, there these symptoms when we're talking about emotional, when I say emotional weight, I'm talking about symptoms that aren't physically, aren't just the symptoms that we have. Let me go track start over again. The symptoms that we have aren't just physical inconveniences. They affect how we see ourselves and how we interact with the world, right? So with weight struggles, right? Acne, hair growth can really chip away at a person's confidence. Fertility challenges can be heartbreaking, right? Mood swings and fatigue can make having relationships, either romantic, family relationships, friendship relations, all of it, relationships, just hard, and all together can make you feel overwhelmed. But on top of that, if anything, um, there's the silence. It's PCOS. PCOS isn't um, is not often talked about openly. I know someone right now that's in my community that does not talk about they have PCOS. They told me, but they don't want to share it to the public or let someone know, because when they did trust someone with that knowledge, the person, because of their lack of knowledge, mishandled that moment with them, and that's unfortunate. But and it made them feel as an inconvenience because they needed some additional time and um, extra consideration, because they were essentially going through their cycle, and they were having a difficult time. So they don't share that they have PCS or they're struggling with PCOS, and of course they're praying and hoping that it goes away. But I'm an advocate. I am 44 years old. I was diagnosed in 2014, but I was treated starting in 2003. I probably had it in high school and middle school. So I'm telling you, I've healed my body, and we'll talk about that later, being healed versus a cure, or cure versus being healed. But I have had PCOS for a very long time. So PCOS is not often talked about openly, but that silence creates stigma, shame, and the feeling that you're going through it alone. So anyone that's going through this, you're not going through this by yourself. There are millions of women that are experiencing the same symptoms, who know they are been diagnosed with PCOS, and there's millions of women who are undiagnosed but are going through it themselves. But I want you to really hear this, that you are not your symptoms, okay? You are not your symptoms. You are not your symptoms. Your symptoms are part of your life. They're part of your journey, but they do not define who you are. They do not define your beauty. They do not define your value or your purpose. And I know that's difficult, especially when you're going through depression, anxiety, or stress, or you're going through the mental fatigue and brain fog, or you're going through some emotional roller coaster. I get it. But know that you are not by yourself, and it does not define who you are. So I really want to make sure that I share that with you, because it's really important. So as I'm about to wrap up, I want to also talk about ways to manage or cope with your PCOS. Okay. So ways to manage and cope with your PCOS. Now that we thoroughly talked about the symptoms, now let's talk about living with these symptoms. And because while PCOS does not have an official cure, let me say it again for the people in the back, down the street, around the corner. There is no official cure for PCOS. Okay. There are ways to manage it. There's ways to adapt to and thrive. Don't let someone tell you otherwise. I have probably healed my body at least 4 different times, where I've gone through a cycle where my symptoms show up, and then I've healed my body. I've lost weight like that. The hairitism finally went away, or reduced. I'm not gonna say fully went away, but it kind of reduced, where it's not aggressive anymore. I didn't have the hair loss, the aggressive hair loss. And all the other things, like my cycle was on every month, every 28 days, like it's supposed to, et cetera, et cetera. And it was actually cutting off after 7 days. Thank you, Jesus. Now it's 6 weeks. Um, let me be crystal clear in the room. There's a difference between cure versus healed. I think, and I know, clinically it is proven, as well as I know over time. There are people who have said, I've cured my body. I've cured myself from PCOS. I can tell you right now, if you've gone, they may have cured it, and I'm going to say that that might be a special case, because I know for a fact a vast majority of women can heal themselves over time. They'll heal themselves, but they have to be intentional about their behavior, how they treat their bodies, how they exercise, how they eat, and all of that. There is not a one size fit all um, cure or remedy to PCOS. There is no one size fit all remedy because there's no one size PCOS, right? I know that I've had people tell me, you can go vegan because that's going to really help you. I love vegetables, but I can't go vegan like 1000%. And I'm not saying that it's completely impossible, but I feel like I'm starved. Like I feel great when I'm, detoxing, but my body needs a lot of protein. Period. I'm an athlete. I dance. I need protein, and so I struggle a lot of finding protein. But what I do is do lean or clean proteins like turkey and chicken. If I hadn't had enough proteins, like for the week, you might see me get a piece of steak. Okay, because there are times where that's what my body needs. I've heard and I have witnessed medical professionals that say don't eat any bread, only go to eat carnivore diet. I have the other side saying become a vegan or vegetarian or whatever. Here's what I'm going to tell you: find what works for you. For me, a paleo diet tends to I have better effects, a better response to, because it's high in protein, and clean vegetables. Of course, you avoid all the refined sugar. There's some days I need a good Coke. I have found that when I'm in craving for that Coke and I get a Coke or something, or a Pepsi, I tend to only drink like maybe a quarter of it. One part of it is super sweet. The other part of it, I just don't need it. I just wanted that little sweet taste. So I indulge, but don't beat yourself down. Now, if you drinking this Coke every single day, or you're drinking 3 to 4 cans every single day, that is a problem. I used to do that in my early 20s, which was a key sign that something was wrong, but I didn't know that, right? So I can tell you, and anyone else, that there's no size remedy. I don't care who you are. I love all the people in the health fitness world. I've seen so many people go through the cycle. Some have gotten pregnant, and then their PCOS symptoms have shown up. I've seen people get pregnant and lose the acne, and their hormones are imbalanced. It is so person specific. So I'm saying to you, all of you, please, 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 don't get discouraged. Just find what works for you. Okay. And so here are some of the things I suggest when you are trying to manage or cope with your PCOS. Some of the things I'm doing currently: I've gone from being 297 pounds to 237 pounds. So I've lost 60 pounds. Even at this conference, people that I know, I'm like, hey, how you doing? They're like, girl, you look different. I didn't even know that was you, blah, 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 which is always funny to me. But I think it's very, very important that we're kind to ourselves. And so one of the things that I do is make sure I track my cycles and symptoms. Now, there's controversy on that. Track it in a notebook, track it in a planner, maybe not track it in an app. Is what again, find what works best for you. Right? Track your cycles and your symptoms, because that is how you can. Is the more information you have, the better you can develop a remedy or a regimen or a system to help you manage and cope. Okay. Knowing what's happening with your body gives you insight, okay, and it helps you advocate for yourself. So, period. Track all of that. The next is to start small with life changes, right? And so, don't try to do it all in one week. If you're trying to refine, or fine tune your diet, start small. It's okay. Give yourself time. Give yourself grace. Don't feel pressure to do a full overhaul of your entire diet or your fitness routine overnight, because again, it won't be sustainable. Okay, as fast as you jumped into it is probably as fast as you're going to fall off of it. So be kind to yourself. Create a tangible schedule that gets you moving, and it's going to take time. It only takes one step at a time. Okay. The next is to work with providers who listen. Okay. Not every doctor understands PCOS fully. So it's okay if you need to change doctors until you find the one that respects your voice. Listen to me. Work with providers who listen, and that's okay. The next is to care for your mental health. Okay. I want to be clear on that. Care for your mental health. That might be going through therapy. right? That might be going to counseling, it might be prayer, it might be journaling, it might be connecting with supportive communities, it might be all five of that. Okay, all five areas. You might need it all. I do. I have a therapist, I have a life coach, I journal, I pray, I have a bestie circle. I'm part of PCOS Awareness Association. Listen, I use it all. So care for your mental health and then decide what that looks like. And last but not least, I've said it before earlier in this series, is to give yourself grace. No two PCOS journeys are the same. What works for me might not work for you. And that's absolutely okay. Don't compare what I'm doing with what you're doing. The goal, the ultimate goal, is that you find what works for you so that you are healed, so you can live your best life. There's so much to live for, there's so much to do. And for all of us, we want to feel good doing it. Okay. So listen, I want to be clear on this. These steps aren't about perfection. Okay. What I'm offering to you guys is not about perfection, but they're about creating space for healing and thriving, even when the symptoms are still present. This is all I'm offering, is stop looking for perfection, because I'm not perfect right now. As much as I've lost weight, which I'm very excited about, I still got this PCOS hormonal belly that I need to figure out how to lose. So, which means that I'm going to probably need to refine my diet for the next couple of months, and also core strengthen my core. Not, I don't need a six pack, but I like my clothes, and I like looking good in my clothes. So, I don't want to be wearing Spanx all the time. So I'm grateful for where I am. Right, I've lost weight, but it doesn't mean that I'm perfect. So I suggest that you create a space for yourself where you can heal and where you can thrive. For me, and for those who didn't know this, because my A1C jumped from 5.5 to 6.6 almost a year ago, my doctor said we need to get you on GLP-1. You're way over your ideal weight. Again, I was 297 pounds and I felt awful. And the reason for the aggressive move is because one night I felt so bad that I fell asleep after eating, and I think I just had like a bagel or something, but I went into a coma. Like, I slept hard and I woke up so groggy, and I was like, let me just check my sugar, and my sugar was like 275. And so I didn't have any insulin shots or anything, and I typically don't take that, but I rushed to the ER and I was like, somebody help me, because my sugar is at 275. And so when they tested me at that time, it had dropped down to 212. So I think I kind of spiked, or peaked at that point. And when I finally tested, or maybe I was coming down from the highest point, but um, and the ER doctor said we only give insulin if yeah, they only give insulin if you're at 300. And I was like, well, I just need to know, because I had no resources at home for me to support my sugar going that high. So I immediately, reached out to my doctor, and they were like, listen, let's get you on the GLP-1. Let's get you in the gym, more weightlifting than doing cardio, and get your protein. Make sure you eat or get 30 grams of protein in the morning. And reduce your stress level, because your cortisol level is up. I am anemic, and so I've been really trying to figure out ways to increase my iron because of the heavy periods. Vitamin D, I need to go outside more, and I know. So, listen, we all are trying to heal ourselves, but I'm grateful that I've lost weight. But I also know some of the side effects with GLP-1 is that I've lost some of my muscle definition. So that's why it's so important to get into the gym to help with, continue to build muscle and recovery. Because if you don't, you're not just losing fat, you're also losing um, some muscle mass. So I encourage you to consider those things as well. So listen, I am super excited. We're wrapping up right now, that you decided to join me tonight for this honest conversation about symptoms. I hope that my story blessed you, and that as we learn more about PCOS or polycystic ovarian syndrome, that this information is helpful to you. PCOS can be heavy, right? But it doesn't define us. And together we're learning, we're healing, and we're all thriving. And this is why I say thrive with me, living boldly with PCOS. Um, this is a weekly series every Thursday at 7 p.m. unless something's going on where I have to do it another day, like today where I'm in a conference, and tomorrow there's a gala and I have to be in attendance. So I wanted to make sure that I stay true to a regular scheduled evening. But I also want to remind you that I'm raising $750 in this series for PCOS Awareness Association. So I would love it if you would join the squad. Okay. I would love it if you would join the squad. And so $750 is my goal. Um, PCOS Awareness Association is doing some really important work. They're supporting research at Cornell University, and they're providing resources to women with PCOS. So if you'd like to support, the link is at the bottom, and that is, www.bit.ly/TWM2026. It should be 2025, but oh well. Um, it is we're raising $750. So please consider donating $10, $5 to my team, the Thriving Squad. I would love for you to be a part. And next week, I think I'll have a guest on with me. We'll be talking about nutrition, and dealing with PCOS and different metabolic symptoms. So, what's out there? Suggestions for nutrition, how to navigate through those options with wisdom. So, until then, I encourage you to stay bold, stay encouraged, and remember that you're not alone. But PCOS does not define you. You are amazing. And I'll see you next week. All right, guys. Thank you.